historic integrity of the building. It is actually registered on the National Historic Landmarks and therefore the Virginia Registry as well. So we needed to protect the historic character of the building. The second mission we were trying to accomplish was to make it as energy efficient and environmentally friendly as possible. So we were seeking LEED certification, and we have in fact applied for gold LEED certification. And finally, we wanted to make it a modern office building, which we certainly wired it with fiber throughout the building, with wireless throughout the building, and feel like we have a modern operating building. So we feel real comfortable that we did a great job of blending all three of these things to accomplish our goals. We're very, very proud of it. This roof, for instance, it's called a green roof, but you know, green has two different levels, and this is actually a vegetated green roof, extensive vegetated. And the advantage of going with the vegetation here, unlike the roof next door, which you've got a black surface on, we have a white underlying surface with plants, and this is reducing the temperature. Believe it or not, it's a hot day today, but it's reducing the temperature by 20 to 40 degrees, and therefore reducing the amount of electricity and the heat, HVAC that we need to use. So we're really excited about being able to show off one of the earlier green roofs here.
Well, that's great. Well, let me just say welcome to everybody and congratulations to Jim and VACo, all with VACo. First, it's a great organization. When I was working as a mayor with the Virginia Municipal League, we worked in tandem with VACo all the time. And so that was great, and it's been even more pleasant to work with VACo as Lieutenant Governor and Governor. VACo's office was in the old City Hall, and then they moved into this building about 4 months ago. And I applaud your leadership in deciding that you wanted to, you know, restore a beautiful historic structure and do it in a way that was environmentally sustainable. Jim is the 5th executive director of VACo. The organization has been going since about 1934. So for over 70 years, and he's only number 5. So this is Jim has played a very key role in this organization's history. As a former mayor, I love old buildings. Richmond is just second to none in the beauty of our built environment. And it's very important that we maintain what we have and that we make it environmentally sustainable. And so VACo is a leader. And I wanted to come today to look at this, but also to maybe attract some others so that more will learn about what you can do to, in construction or renovation projects, make buildings sustainable, including green roofs. This is a building that has great history. We were just in the conference room with the conference room table was made out of the original structural beams used in the roof here in the building. The building was built in 1866, and they can tell from analyzing the beams that those beams were pine seedlings in 1776. So there's some great history, and you've taken advantage of all that history, and also gone the extra mile to seek LEED certification. We see all over the Commonwealth now private owners, private organizations like VACo, but also city and county governments and state government going for LEED certification. We put in by executive order early in my administration a requirement that new state construction meet LEED standards, and that has had some particular value since we passed the higher ed bond package 2 years back. But the green roof is also kind of a new idea, and you can really get the comparison standing here and looking at the roofs next door. We have acres and acres of space on roofs all over Virginia that can be used. If you do the vegetative green roofs, you can reduce not only the temperature in the building that makes it more efficient for heating and cooling, but you can have an effect to reduce actual temperatures in urban areas where there tend to be so much concrete and asphalt that absorb heat. And so this not only helps you, but if a lot of folks do this, it'll help the entire environment. So that's why we're here today. 3 bills were passed this year in the legislature dealing with green roofs, all to give local governments the ability to provide either incentives or regulatory, not shortcuts, but make it easier from a regulatory standpoint to get building permits if you did vegetated green roofs. I think the time for LEED certification and green roofs is here. You guys are at the front end of it, and I applaud you for setting an example that others will follow.
Well, we appreciate it very much. It certainly was a team effort. And as we approached the project, certainly we had a great architect, with historic preservation background, Joseph F. Yates, and and company. And then Century Construction was the general contractor on it, and this was the first green building that they had done. So they all learned a lot from this building as we all went through the process. And of course, we then used Mosley Architects, who has got some experience in some LEED certified and energy efficient buildings, for some consultations. So we're very proud that our team worked together with the Department of Historical Resources to make sure that we captured the character that they wanted, and now we're trying to make sure that we show our energy efficiency. So it was a good team effort altogether.
Well, that's great, and I know that these are important projects to do right for the environmental reason, but increasingly folks are doing it right because it saves money. We are in a time where energy costs are volatile, but we don't think they're volatile and falling. We think they're volatile and rising, and they will continue to rise for the next generation or so. And so projects like this require maybe a little bit more work on the front and a little bit more investment up front, but they then create a significant economic benefit by reducing heating and frankly making it a more pleasant place to work. I can tell the folks have really enjoyed moving here. So
we're really excited about it, certainly. And being lobbyists for local governments, we keep an eye on the Capitol, as you can see just over your shoulder.
Yeah, it looks so placid from down here. Wow. And it'll look placid Wednesday, but it won't be placid, but it'll look placid.
It'll be very quiet around, I'm sure, but we're going to have a lot of excitement here coming this week. So.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, Jim and I could be glad to take questions. If you guys want to ask us questions about this or about anything else, maybe why don't you kind of come over here.
Jim, just one question about this. What's the cost to convert this building to LEED, what you hope to be a LEED certified?
That's a great question. To achieve LEED certification, we did have to do a few extra things, but I added those add-ons to the project there, and I estimate there was less than 2% added to the project to achieve this. Most of that was in this roof. Now, candidly, Whitley Roofing Company and Weston Solutions worked together to give us our vegetated roof, and that was about a $30,000 project, and that was about half of what our additional costs were. So we were pretty comfortable. The engineers and the architects anticipated some of the low flow water facilities, some lighting issues, making sure that we were energy efficient, using as much sunlight as possible. You'll note that the skylights and the light wells go down to the third floor, and so we capture as much as we can.
So
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Governor. Roughly $60,000. How long do you predict it's going to take you to recoup that investment?
It's going to take a few years, but recapture will eventually happen now that we own the building. So the association will own it forever. So it'll certainly recapture itself, but it'll take a while. But more importantly, we wanted to set an example that it is possible to do a sustainable and preservation project together.
And that was what I was going to say. People will think of sustainability as, well, that's one thing with new construction. Can you do sustainable work with an existing building? And I think what this building shows is that it is very possible. You've got to have the vision to do it, but there are people out there who will help you. And again, you can just compare to other buildings and see, an awful lot of buildings right around it. Anything else?
Any other questions?
Could you repeat what you just said?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,